All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're going to completely reframe what true wealth actually looks like. We live in a world that is just obsessed with loud displays of money, right? Social media feeds packed with luxury vacations, designer clothes, and shiny new cars. But what if I told you that for the vast majority of people who have actually built significant, life-changing wealth, their lives look absolutely nothing like that? Today, we're moving past the flashy myths and digging into the concrete, unglamorous, but incredibly powerful behaviors that build genuine financial freedom. We're going to look at the specific habits that quietly separate the people who are actually wealthy from those who just want to look the part.
Section 1, the myth of real wealth. To really wrap our heads around this, let's picture a very specific but honestly super common scenario. Think about a woman living right in your own neighborhood.
You've probably seen her walking her dog on a Tuesday morning. She's rocking the same running shoes she's had for like 3 years. There's no fancy branded coffee cup in her hand because she brews her own at home. Her house is totally modest. And sitting right there in her driveway is a silver Honda CR-V with 140,000 miles on the odometer. You probably wouldn't even think twice about her. Looking at those modest outward signs, you'd naturally assume she lives a very ordinary, maybe even paycheck-to-paycheck kind of financial life.
But here is the wild, hidden reality behind that assumption. Completely under the radar, she has been quietly socking away between 40 and 60% of her income for the last 11 years. Because of that relentless discipline, her investment accounts have officially crossed the $2 million mark. Oh, and she also owns 2 fully paid-off rental properties. She could literally just stop working tomorrow, and her financial life wouldn't even register a blip for decades. It's incredible.
So, the absolutely crucial point here is that she isn't exceptional in the ways society tells us we have to be. She didn't inherit some massive trust fund, she didn't invent a billion-dollar app, and she definitely didn't win the lottery. She simply made a series of decisions that most people actively avoid. You see, fake wealth is all tied up in yachts, flashy watches, and having a personality built entirely around buying stuff. But real wealth, it's a quiet, seemingly unspectacular life that is completely, fundamentally free. She just made consistent choices over a long enough timeline that the math became impossible to ignore.
Which brings us to Section 2, mastering time and patience. This is really the foundation of all the other habits. The secretly wealthy master patience because they don't think in months, they think in decades.
Look, most people make financial choices based on how they feel right in the moment, or maybe they're optimizing for the next few months. They put off investing because, they'll just start next year when things settle down. But wealthy people understand this math viscerally. If you invest just $1,000 today at an 8% average return, it turns into over $2,000 in 10 years, over $4,620 years, and over $10,000 in 30 years. That money literally doubled twice without you lifting a finger. The only required input? Just time. The quietly wealthy makes decisions treating this math as an absolute truth because, well, it is.
And this brilliantly illustrates the real cost of waiting. Let's look at 3 people who all invest $500 a month at that same 8% return. The 25-year-old, they end up with $1.75 million at age 65. The 35-year-old gets $745,000, and the 45-year-old ends up with $294,000. The monumental difference between having nearly $2 million versus less than $300,000 isn't about having a higher salary, and it's definitely not about superior intelligence. It is simply a 20-year head start and immense patience. They just let slow processes do what slow processes do.
Section 3. Designing fail-proof systems. So, how do they actually maintain that patience? Well, they definitely don't rely on willpower. Instead, they treat their personal finances like a perfectly run business. Managing your money reactively, like just waiting to see what happens to be left in your checking account at the end of the month, is completely exhausting. The quietly wealthy recognize the very real psychological danger of decision fatigue. This is a well-established concept in behavioral psychology showing that our ability to make good choices literally declines the more decisions we're forced to make throughout the day. They know for a fact that a tired, emotionally drained mind makes terrible financial choices. To combat this, they literally remove themselves from those moment-to-moment choices by deciding everything in advance. They automate their savings so the money just moves on a rigid schedule, out of sight, out of mind. They enforce strict waiting periods for big, non-essential purchases. They even write out an investment policy statement when times are good, dictating exactly what they're going to do when the market inevitably drops. They make all these rules on a calm, rational Tuesday morning so that the exhausted, stressed out Friday night version of themselves absolutely cannot sabotage their long-term wealth.
This reliance on structure over guesswork totally extends to their professional networks too. You are rarely going to catch a quietly wealthy person bragging about some hot stock tip at a dinner party or trying to day trade crypto at midnight. Instead, they quietly pay for unexciting but highly lucrative professional expertise. They invest in fee-only financial advisors who are legally bound to act in their best interest. They hire top-tier accountants to legally optimize their taxes, which saves them thousands, and they use estate planning attorneys to protect their assets. None of this is flashy, but the financial return, it's rock solid.
All right, Section 4, the psychology of spending. Let's shift gears to a really fascinating part of this lifestyle. Why are the quietly wealthy so immune to the traps of modern consumerism that seem to snare everyone else? First off, they almost never try to impress anyone financially. You won't hear them casually dropping the price of their new kitchen renovation into a conversation. And that's because they fundamentally understand the hedonic treadmill. It's this psychological observation that humans just return to a stable baseline of satisfaction no matter how much they upgrade their lifestyle. Buying a status symbol only gives you a temporary hit of dopamine before your expectations reset to the new normal. By stepping off that treadmill entirely, they free up massive amounts of capital. This translates directly into how they handle idle time, and I absolutely love this insight. Think about it. The entire modern consumer economy is practically built on the idea that boredom is a problem that spending can solve. You get restless, so you browse online, add some gadget to your cart, sign up for a new streaming service, or go out to an expensive dinner just to kill time. Most people leak an absolute fortune trying to cure restlessness. But the quietly wealthy, they just sit with their boredom. They are totally comfortable doing nothing. By not viewing boredom as an emergency, they completely neutralize a massive category of unintentional spending.
Moving on to Section 5, redefining financial risk. Another game changer is how they view risk entirely. They strip away the intense emotion that paralyzes most people when it comes to their money.
The crucial takeaway here is that not taking a risk is inherently risky. For most of us, keeping all our money in a basic bank account feels incredibly safe, right? Because the number never goes down. But that perceived safety hides a really harsh reality. If your bank pays 0.5% in interest, but inflation is running at 3%, you are silently losing 2.5% of your purchasing power every single year. It is a guaranteed, invisible loss. The wealthy know that leaving money in cash for decades out of fear does way more damage than the stock market volatility they're so desperately trying to avoid. Which brings us to how they actually view the market itself. They never, ever confuse volatility with permanent loss. A market correction is just volatility. It's a temporary paper loss. The underlying businesses are still out there functioning. The only way you convert that temporary dip into a real permanent loss is by panicking and selling at the absolute wrong time. Because the quietly wealthy have a time horizon of decades, and because they've already pre-written their financial rules like we talked about, they simply do not make dramatic, panic-driven moves when the stock market takes a dip. Finally, Section 6, the ultimate payoff, freedom. Ultimately, all of these quiet, systematic habits funnel toward one specific, life-changing goal. And spoiler alert, it is not a vault full of gold coins. It's absolute freedom. At some point along the way, the quietly wealthy did the really hard work of auditing their values. They actively ignored what Instagram told them they should want, and they ignored the status markers their social circles tried to push on them. And what they discovered is pretty profound. The things that bring them genuine joy actually cost very little money. We're talking about a genuinely good meal cooked at home, a deep, interesting conversation, a long walk on a beautiful day, doing work that actually matters to them. When you align your money with what you actually value, spending on superficial things just stops making emotional sense.
Returning to our secret millionaire with the 140,000-mile silver Honda CR-V, we finally see the complete picture. Her incredible wealth wasn't built on luck. It was built on decades of quiet, unglamorous consistency. She ignored the noise, she invested consistently, she automated her systems, and she didn't spend money trying to cure her boredom or impress the neighbors. As a result, she's already bought a level of absolute independence and freedom that most people on her street will never, ever experience. She just has no need to tell anyone about it.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a direct challenge. Take a page right out of the Quietly Wealthy playbook and do your own values audit. Look closely at where your money is going. Separate all that societal noise from what truly brings you joy, and ask yourself this single most important question. What do you actually value?
Because once you answer that honestly, the path to building real quiet wealth becomes incredibly clear. Start your values audit today, and I'll catch you in the next one.